Hello and welcome back everybody to another episode of From the Heart, and I just had to talk about this amazing horror comic that I had the luxury of reading called the Autumnal. It's something that gives off some very Shaun of the Dead vibes. You got a whole city called Comfort Notch that is hiding this secret. It's this perfect little town. Everything is about the autumn, okay? It is very based off the trees around them. They get a lot of leaf tourists and things like that, just sightseers, because when this town is in full autumn, it is just an absolute beauty. But the things that are actually powering all this is a little darker than you might think. Comfort Notch is a place of mystery, a place of very close-knit family that nobody ever speaks out, nobody asks questions. Yes, we'll just get right into this, alright? This is a longer one, so I'm just gonna kind of try and blow through this the best I can. This mostly deals with a daughter and a mother, Kat the mother, and Sybil the daughter. And how they actually arrive at this city is, Kat is kind of a punk rock lady, alright? You see, she had a life of playing bands and shows, and suddenly she is knocked up and she has to kind of give up the dream, make some steady paychecks to do the best she can to actually raise her daughter. Recently broken up with her boyfriend. She has a black eye, some big sunglasses, and she's ready to start a new life when suddenly she gets this phone call, alright? These people have been calling for days. She's getting very annoyed about this, but finally they ask for a lady named Gertrude, and she's like, I don't know this lady. Oh, wait. Trudy? Suddenly she realizes they've been calling about her mother, and she kind of tells me, I don't want to talk to that bitch if that's what this whole thing's about. They tell her, that bitch is dead, okay? Your mom, she's a dead lady, and we're just kind of letting you know that she's left her house, and the funeral is in a day or two. So come down if you want to make it, or don't. And at the opportunity of a new house, she is all about it, alright? She basically drops everything. She leaves everything at her apartment, and she goes off to go pick up her daughter from school. Her daughter's actually in trouble, alright? And when she arrives there, she figures out that her daughter Sybil has just punched a little girl in the face. She's been calling her names, and she actually refers to her as Mistress Destruction Exploder, due to her kind of having this disorder where she can't really contain her anger, alright? She needs to let it out in the face of evil, or just other kids being a dick to her, or just unpleasant feelings in general. And the principal is not very about this, alright? But Kat shows up with a Stephen King book, actually. I thought it was pretty cool that an actual real title made it into this title. She hands her daughter this book, The Eye of the Dragon. It's not quite important, but the teacher is very mad, okay? She's mad that Kat's just kind of comforting her daughter, telling it's okay. She has to run the school. She has like 1,700 students, and she is not dealing with the shit, and Kat is not dealing with her shit. And they basically just up and leave, alright? Sybil's a little confused. She's like, we got all this stuff in the car, Mom. What are we doing? And her mom basically just tells we're gonna go see Grandma's funeral in this little beautiful town. And they get on the closest bus. They both kind of just sleep there, and when they arrive into this town, they see how beautiful it is, alright? There's trees sprawling everywhere, oranges and browns and reds and blacks all over the place, alright? These trees are downright gorgeous. They've never seen a city like this. They're coming from Chicago. Kat moved away from the city when she was 9. Her mom abandoned her, is what she believes. But this is basically just a whole new scene for them. Sybil is actually pretty blown away by the city. She's never seen fall like this. She's never seen leaves like this. And she starts picking up these leaves. And she's kind of mocking her eye, she holds it in front so the shadow can go over one eye, and she's like, I'm like you, Mommy, alright? We both have black eyes now. But her mom doesn't like this, alright? She's kind of feeling shameful, but this man walks up and he snatches this leaf right out of her hand. And it's pretty obvious that he doesn't want them holding these leaves for a reason, alright? He's been raking these leaves. Maybe this pile's important to them, or maybe there's some sinister shit going on underneath this city. But he basically tells me, I just don't want you to hold that. It could be gross. It could have dog pee. Could have like city runoff. Could have radioactive waste. You just shouldn't. Just don't touch the leaves, alright? The leaves are very important to us, and they need to be kept in these piles. And that's basically this whole entire city, alright? Everybody's constantly raking. They're constantly just trying to keep all these leaves in a pile. As soon as they see even one leaf fall on the ground, it gets raked up instantly. Kat brushes this off, and she just wants to know where the funeral home is. She's here to see her mother, alright? She wants an open casket. She says, I want to see this bitch's face for one last time. This is something she says over the phone in the very beginning, not to this man. Just a little context for you. But this guy is very reluctant not to tell her where it is, you know. He actually starts telling her, you're not going to find any comfort here. But he ends up telling them anyway, and they head off in that direction to where Sybil sees all these kids playing. She says, like, Mama, can I go play with these kids? And she says yes, but what's one thing we're not going to do? And Sybil's like, we're not going to bully people or whoop their ass. And she runs off to play with these kids, and these kids are all kind of telling off this little chant, alright? It goes, biddle biddle, soft and merry, from a seed a child she carried, girl of beauty, girl of grace, but daddy would not claim her face. Baby's crib opened wide, daddy sends a pig inside, chomps and smacks and swallows down, biddle scream the only sound, lightning, thunder, axe and knife, 50 whacks she takes a life, 50 more she takes another, murderous now instead of a mother. Head and hair and bone and blood, turn stone and leaf and tree and mud. Watch your feet now, watch your nose, biddle biddle. And this is also kind of a reoccurring thing that goes on. Basically every kid in town is taught this as a child. All the parents know it, everybody knows this. And Kat actually starts to remember this. She starts to remember her teachers teaching her this rhyme. She remembers the smell of construction paper and the tarmac outside on the playground. And she kind of just wants this to stop, alright? So she wrangles up Sybil, and they head on into this little funeral home where there's very obviously nobody in here, okay? Nobody's showing up. It's very dark in here. There's one lady there, and Kat's kind of wondering, you know, where's all the photos? Where's all the flowers? This is a small town, and in small towns, funerals are kind of like baseball games, you know. Everybody shows up, they bring green bean casserole, they bring treats, they bring cookies, they tell stories, and there's just nobody here reminiscing about her mom. Basically, the lady running this whole shebang says, you know, it's been going on for an hour. If you want to pay your respects, you might as well do it now. I can only work with the things people bring me, and nobody's brought me shit, okay? Nobody cares about your mom. Alright, you should have brought some things if you wanted some things. She's a little nicer about this, but she is very shrewd about the whole ordeal. But she ends up leaving this room, and like I said, Kat wants an open casket. She wants to see her mother's face one more time, and she tells Sybil, you know, go over to these flowers, there's a note in there, go over there and read it real quick. And she does, and Kat begins to open this casket. Suddenly she sees something and she slams it shut, and she starts being like, I didn't see it. I did not see this. What she actually saw inside was her mother with like twigs and branches growing out of her eyeballs. She's holding these flowers. She's got all these leaves stuffed in her mouth, and it kind of looks like she's been buried and then maybe dug back up and put inside of this casket, or some kind of spooky attack or something like that. Maybe we'll figure that out a little bit later. But basically the funeral lady runs back inside. She's like, you didn't see that, alright? She just had this bouquet of flowers, and it must have just got jostled. The flowers landed directly in her eye sockets. It's a thing that happens in these small towns. But you need to leave. And Kat basically brushes this off too. And like I said, she just kind of thinks it must just be a part of the grieving process. There's no way that was real. I'll leave some close-ups, but yes, the artwork in this book is really good. It's very, very detailed. The coloring in it is absolutely fantastic. It's very vivid. The printing on the pages is super nice as well. There's kind of like this effect going on, and I don't know who does the art of this. Well, I do. Actually, it is Krause, Shehan, Wordy, and Campbell, and I actually think Campbell and Wordy may have possibly wrote or drew some of these other books that I've done on the channel so far. The art in this is absolutely fantastic. I would say you could buy this just to look at the art. I almost did. The cover alone is very unique. It's got this picture of this person with like a reed growing out of their eye, and then just all these oranges. It's very eye-catching, is what I want to say. The color palettes in this is very good throughout the whole thing. It's just a lot of oranges and browns and a very autumn effect, you know. This is something that I've read out in the woods, actually, in a hammock, and it was a very peaceful read, I want to say. The contents in it aren't exactly peaceful, but it was just very fitting for something to go out and chill in a hammock and read in the woods. It was a good time, is basically what I'm saying. But now that Kat's seen this whole ordeal, she heads to the actual funeral, right? Where, again, nobody shows up. It's just a father there, and he's just kind of waiting on a word of what they want to do. Kat doesn't really know what to do. She asks him, you know, are are you gonna say any lines from that from the good book upstairs or anything? And he basically says, we'll do whatever you want. This is kind of all on you, lady. He's also very reluctant to tell her, you don't want to be here, okay? It's gonna get cold, is what everybody in the city says. The equinox is coming around, which is basically their word for kind of like the fall time shift. And it's just a very common thing that everybody's just like, the equinox is coming around. It's gonna be chilly. You're from Chicago, but apparently you've never experienced any cold like this, so you should probably just leave. But basically at every opportunity, Kat's just like, hell no, I just got this house. Me and my daughter are no longer gonna have to live in poverty. So that's pretty cool. I think that might be something I might like to avoid. Which is very understandable. But she ends up leaving this funeral, and on the way out, her and Sybil notice this monument, alright, this giant monolith with this strange kind of slash in it. It's kind of like this runic symbol. And then they see all these square boxes next to it. They are headstones, but they're all like 2 to 3 inches apart from each other, and there's a whole ton of them just kind of wrapping in a circle around this thing. And they're very curious to what this is. Sybil kind of makes a remark, this couldn't possibly be people. They're all so close together. And Kat kind of remembers that they've seen a sign before they came in here that said Memorial Cemetery Park, and she just kind of tells her, these are all just memorials. But she looks over at this other guy raking leaves, why is everybody in here raking fucking leaves? They seem to really enjoy their yard work. What she yells over, and she's like, yo, what's up with all these boxes, what's going on here? Why are they all so close together? And he basically just tells her, they are distinguished citizens of the town. People to be remembered, people that have been honored. And she just says, okay, whatever. And they're off to go walk in this park. They still have a day before they actually get the keys to the house. And they're kind of forced to sleep out in the rain, Sybil's having a good time. She's playing mudmen, she's kicking puddles and things like that. And Kat is kind of wondering whether or not she's a neglectful, abusive mother. She starts to think maybe this is something that runs in our line of the family, but there's basically nothing she can do about it. So she makes the best out of it and tells Sybil, it's just one more night. We're gonna have fun. It's gonna be like camping, okay? You remember last winter when it was so cold? It may be wet here, but at least it's not absolutely freezing cold. And they kind of just snuggle up when suddenly they hear this crunching off in the distance. Kat pulls out this knife, alright? She's ready to stab somebody right directly in the throat, specifically. Which she never says this, but I wouldn't doubt it, alright? Kat's kind of a badass in this. But this man with red hair appears, and his name is Aubrey, I believe, and he's like, whoa, don't stab me directly in the jugular. I heard you say that. No, but he is pretty scared, but he's holding up this pair of keys, and he's just like, I seen you guys out here, and I figured you might need a little bit of help. I got this car, it's kind of a piece, but you are welcome to have it. It's not worth selling, so I thought maybe I'd just give it to you. I have a really nice truck at home, and I'm just gonna leave these right in your bag. Don't stab me. I'm gonna tuck these in nice. Don't stab me. I'm gonna step back, don't stab me. And Kat kind of just can't believe this. Like I said, they're from Chicago. They're not used to this small town hospitality. But she says, thank you. And he's like, you're pretty bad at apologizing. You pulled the knife on me, but have a good one. And so they sleep in the car, and things are getting better and better the longer they're in this town. Things start to work out. And the next day comes around, and they head off to Kat's mom's house. And they're both just like, wow, this house is huge. We're all going to get our own rooms. This is so absolutely fantastic. Sybil is ecstatic. She's asking all these questions. She wants to know about Grandma, why they never seen her. Does she look like her? Does she look like her mom? And Kat just kind of opens the door. She's kind of just ignoring this. She doesn't want to answer any questions about her mom. And she walks in, and it's total darkness. And she tells Sybil, go open these drapes. And when Sybil does this, suddenly 2 people appear that have been standing in this house the whole time, and you can actually see them in the panel. They look very creepy, but it does turn out that they're just this older couple. But they're all scared at the same time, alright? These old people are screaming. They're like, don't hurt us. We just came in here for a look around and a glass of water, and Kat's just like, what the fuck are you actually doing in here? It actually turns out that they are just from the Beautician Society, alright? They're here to rake the leaves. Who would have thought they're here to rake the leaves up? It's a very common occurrence in this. But Kat tells them to leave, and to leave the extra set of keys, and they do that, okay? And from here, Sybil's running around the house. She's picking out rooms, and Kat's just kind of walking around as well, remembering all these different memories and things that happened in this house. She's remembering her mom going through her photographs, or like giving her a bath and things like that, and she can't handle it. So what does she do? She runs outside, and she's kind of hyperventilating, and Sybil notices this. And she starts asking, Mama, what's wrong? Why are you freaking out? And she doesn't answer. She basically just tells her, there's tons of yard work to be done. This small town seems very adamant on picking up these leaves. And I think I need to do this just to make sure nobody gets pissed off at us. And that's what she does. She starts raking these leaves. And as she's amassing this huge pile of leaves, she tells Sybil, come over here and jump in this pile of leaves. I see people doing it in commercials and movies, and it's supposed to be a lot of fun. Sybil is not into this. She's like, why would I do that? There's a bunch of bugs, gross worms and snakes in this thing. That sounds disgusting. And Kate's just kind of like, just do it and be a kid. When suddenly these two twins pop up, alright? These red-headed twins. And they're kind of like, what exactly are you doing? In this small town, we don't jump in leaves. We don't touch the leaves. We simply rake them. They're dangerous, alright? And Kat just is kind of sick of this whole leaf ordeal. She's like, just be kids, everybody in the city needs to loosen up. These two boys kind of look at each other, and they do. They jump in the leaves, and they're playing and splashing around. Sybil joins in, and suddenly this boy's screaming about a witch, and he's like, she's got me! She's got me! And his brother notices this, and he just knows that he's fucking with him, but suddenly their mom's walking up, and she looks pissed, alright? She's doing the whole mabob. And she's screaming at Kat. She's like, you know nothing about our town's customs, you know nothing about protecting children, and now you're just like you're a cunt of a mother, alright? She drops the hard C, which I thought was a little crazy, and out of nowhere, she slaps the fuck out of Kat. And that is the ending of chapter 2, alright? A very crazy end. Something is very obviously going on with these leaves, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying that. Obviously, if you watch this whole video, you're gonna get spoilers big time, alright? I'm going through this whole bitch. But from here, it's just kind of Kat, like, rolling over this thing of rocks, and she's like, all these bugs underneath this rock are just like this city. On top, everything is beautiful, but underneath this rock, it's just a bunch of insect ideas, a bunch of crazy old hick people that want to keep their secrets and want to stay underneath this rock, not letting anything underneath the pressure of it. But she wants to be a part of this town. She knows this is what's going to be good for a kid, and she can tell that she's kind of enjoying this small town lifestyle. Everybody's kind of getting excited about this whole equinox thing, and everybody's just kind of into helping each other and talking to each other. So she starts going to charities and just attending on all these different events, keeping up with the yard work, just trying to do her best to be a part of functioning society here, alright? And one day she ends up sending Sybil to school. She's starting to snap a little bit, alright? She can't really take this goody two-shoes lifestyle too well, and she just needs to get the hell out of here, alright? So she jumps in the car, and she guns it down the fucking highway, and she's ready to go, alright? She goes to the next town over, and she finds this little punk rock bar, and she's like, I can smell the sin. These are my people. Arise, vagrants, Kat has arrived. And she sits down, she's having a drink, she's having a good time, and suddenly this larger bald man kind of walks up, and he's like, wow, just my type, rich, and you can buy your own drinks, and you seem to actually be able to hold your own too. And she's getting a little mad. Rich is the name of her father's daughter, the man that just recently punched her in the eye socket. She's like, kind of like, don't call me that, alright? That's the name of the biggest asshole in the world, the father of my daughter. This guy's kind of just a total dickhead, and he's like, You're simply too hot to be a mother, alright? She doesn't want to hear this either. She kind of tells me, what do you think my selfhood went away when the afterbirth came out? He says this line, he's like, if you keep saying all these gross things, it's going to be kind of hard for me to fuck you. And suddenly Kat turns around with her mug in her hand. She smashes it over his face. She's inevitably kicked out of this place. And while she was in the right for smashing this dude right in the chops, she does realize that she's kind of doing a self-sabotage of her new life, this easy peasy lifestyle. And she realizes that she actually needs to embrace these things. And she looks across the street, and what do you know? It is this place called the Regret Artist, a tattoo removal shop. She meets this man named Rob. She walks in, and they're kind of talking about her old band and stuff. They both know some mutual bands. He's a very cool character in this. He's a very deep character. He actually tattoos every single tattoo he removes, he tattoos on his own body as is to hold the memory of these people's regrets. Kat is there because she wants this giant R tattoo on her neck to be removed, the last symbol of her past life. And they kind of start forming this bondship. Kat kind of tells me, no, I'm kind of broke or whatever. And he's very nice. He just tells her, you know, come in whenever you can and we can just pay as you go. And we're going to get that bad boy off your neck, alright? You don't need to keep carrying around this piece of shit's name all over you. Fucking sick, dog. And he hands her his number and she heads home and she's like, it's a date, alright? She sits down on the couch. Sybil rushes in from school. She's in a great mood. And she's like, Mama, I made visual art today, alright? It's not like making music art like you do. It's visual. But she shows her these crazy pictures that she's been drawing. And it's of this lady named Biddle Biddle that all these kids keep talking about. And it's a picture of this crazy witch-looking lady pointing at these 4 children from across the way. And her mom does not like this. She instantly kind of crumbles this thing up. This upsets me, Sybil. You're making me remember things that I simply don't want to remember. And Sybil's pissed, alright? She wanted to give this to the 2 little boys' mom, the one that actually slapped Kat, and Kat's like, I don't know if we should do this. And Sybil says, you know, she likes me fine, she just doesn't like you, and anyway, she's gonna want it. Her husband just died, alright? This is the man that gave her the car keys, Aubrey, the redheaded gentleman. This freaks Kat the hell out that she even knows this. She's like, are you being serious? You're just fucking with me? And it does turn out to be true. And next thing you know, they're at this funeral, it's raining, these 2 little boys are standing there. Once again, you see this giant monolith with the runic symbol on it, and they're all gathered around Aubrey's gravesite. They're all just talking, alright? These 2 little boys kind of come up, and Kat's like, how are you doing? Are you alright? I'm so sorry to hear about this. And these 2 little boys, we're doing okay. It just kind of sucks that her father choked. And she's like, oh, Jesus, what did he choke on? And one of the boys is very reluctant not to say what actually he choked on, but the other one says, he chokes on leaves. Once again, these leaves just keep fucking popping up out of nowhere, alright? Things are getting wild here. Things are just getting very neat, alright? And it's got this great little artwork right here where it actually shows the dad with red leaves stuffed in his mouth. His eyes are all rolled back and he's sitting in a body bag. And the lady that slaps her walks up after the kids say this and she basically blames his whole death, you know? She says, you take my husband's car, you take his life, you come into the city, you let these kids roll around in these leaves, these goddamn leaves. And then she just leaves and the funeral's over. Kat and Sybil go home and Kat does not want to be alone at home. So she has Sybil take her down to the basement where she's been talking about all these photographs, alright? Old photographs of her mom, pictures that her mom had taken. She actually used to be a photographer. She's ready to kind of look at these, and when she does, she starts noticing, you know, how it looks very much like why would her mom abandon her? She's holding her hand, they're having a good time, they're taking baths, playing on slides. She can very obviously tell that her mom did love her, and this is very confusing. She can't tell why exactly she got rid of her the way she does. And suddenly Sybil's like, what is this? Are these dead kids? And she pulls up this picture of like these children that are burning alive. And Kat's like, stop looking at that. But your grandmother used to take pictures for the news. She must have just kept these ones because they didn't take them. I don't know why she'd keep such morbid photos. She sees this photo and she's looking around at it. And Sybil notices that there's something in the corner of this burning building. She's like, what is that lady doing there in the corner? And her mom kind of looks, and you see this scary ass looking tree figure up here on the side, right? She's like, it's Biddle Biddle. Kat starts remembering things a lot more. This actually happened around the time right after she left, and there's just a lot of coincidences starting to pile up. For the next couple segments of this book is Kat kind of going to the library, trying to figure out what exactly happened at this fire. It's called the Star Ring Fire of 1980 something. She's looking through all these old documents and newspapers, and suddenly the librarian realizes you don't have a library card. You're gonna have to turn all those right now. You can't look at another word. Kat starts just calling her a fascist pig, starts calling her a bitch and all these different things. Needs to run out of the building, but before she does that, she snaps a bunch of pictures of these. And she starts getting the names of the people that were in this fire. Most of the people that were in it actually burned to death, but there is like 3 that are alive. And the first one doesn't know anything. He's like a construction man. He says, you know, I was 7 when this happened. I couldn't possibly remember any of it. Second person also doesn't want to talk about it, but the third person, very interesting character, one of the actual survived burn victims of this whole thing. She does know a thing or two. Kat walks up to this kind of dilapidated place, and she's noticing this is not like Comfort Notch. I kind of can't believe this even being allowed. There's like leaves everywhere, which is not good. Okay, you don't have leaves in your fucking lawn in Comfort Notch. You need to pick that shit up. But she almost doesn't think anybody lives here when she walks up to the door and it says do not knock, and she's like, fuck it, I'm gonna knock on the door. And suddenly, from out of the darkness, she hears, I have a shotgun pointed at your head right now, and I just want you to know before you tell me anything, A few quick things about Carol Brzezinski. Carol doesn't want a lower energy bill. Carol doesn't want to buy your kids' fundraiser chocolate. Carol is not interested in joining the Church of Jesus Christ or Latter-day Saints. Does that about cover it? She basically says, does Carol willing to talk about the Stardust Ring Fire of 1996? Turns out it wasn't in the 80s, so good thing we're at this segment of the book. Good job, book. And suddenly Carol pokes her head out and she says, is there any money in it? And you are noticing right here that Carol is extremely burned. She is very, not in a mean way, but very similar looking to Freddy Krueger, that level of burn. Entire nose is basically gone. She has like just a few strands of hair. And it's very obvious that she hardly escaped this place with her life. Kat says, I can give you $20 if you want. And Carol is very willing to do this for $20. And after a little bit of a conversation, they both go inside, they sit down. Carol actually pulls out a meth pipe. She's like, before I tell you this whole story, I'm gonna need to take a little toke. This things that I'm about to tell you is pretty fucked up. She offers Kat a hit and surprisingly does not want the meth, alright? I thought that was crazy, she doesn't want it. She starts going on about the actual beginning of the town, how there used to be this mayor and this lady. The mayor's son was involved with this lady, alright? They used to sleep together, they thought they were in love, when suddenly the mayor's son actually impregnated this girl. And Carol starts telling her about how he wants her to get rid of this thing, he wants her to go to like this old witch doctor lady, or just somebody's secret that can get rid of this child before it is actually birthed. And she is not about this, alright? She is horrified. She runs out in the woods and she actually ends up living out there for the next 9 months until this child is actually born. She starts telling Kat, the woods basically raised this baby with her. Basically every day the mayor's son went out there to find her. He wants this baby gone, and if that means killing this lady as well, he's gonna do it. And the day does come to the point where she does have this child. She wanders into town and she finds this guy and she says, I know your mind was askew before, but the child is here and I know you'll love him. I know you'll change your mind. Basically he's like, yeah, I will. And he takes her out to his house, brings the baby into this trough where these pigs are, and suddenly he snatches this child and throws it to the pig, and the pig straight up eats this baby. This pretty fucked up part in this book. I know I'm briefly going through this really fast, but this book is very good. It's very sinister, and the storytelling it is absolutely fantastic. Like I already said, the artwork's good, but what you're gonna get here is just a really good story. Something that I could very much see getting turned into a movie or maybe a TV show. I think if you made it long enough and compact enough, you could do this in a very fantastic way. This is the start of Biddle Biddle. This lady was Biddle Biddle. She returns to the woods, and the woods basically envelop her, alright, and she is pissed. She starts watching these family and their children. She becomes something very sinister. And Carol actually does kill this man, alright? She stabs him 50 times in the heart, according to the little rhyme that we heard in the beginning as well. His dad walks in, he's like, my boy! And she kills him too, right off the bat. She is not about this anymore, and like I said, she runs off into the woods and becomes who she is. Okay guys, it is a completely different day. My camera ended up actually shutting off like halfway through this recording. So for the sake of brevity, I'm just gonna quick tell you the rest of the events of this because I do think it is a book that you should read for yourself. But basically after Kat finds out about this story through a slew of different events, she starts meeting her mom's friend who actually knows a lot about what's going on with this town. She actually has dementia and she kind of spills the beans and lets her know. This lady, Biddle Biddle, the lady that we just talked about, the lady whose baby was eaten by a pig, a straight up pig, has been out for revenge this entire time, and every year, or after at least every once in a while, she requires a child to be sacrificed to the woods, and that is what this town has come to accept, alright? And when this actually happens, they all see it as an honor, okay? How this happens is a leaf gets closer and closer to a child, and when this leaf and this signature that you see at the end of the book starts to appear around this child, everybody knows, and that is when the equinox happens, alright? Everybody gathers around. They actually go to the cemetery with the memorial stones and they gather up and they all start singing and chanting, and it's very reminiscent of like a midsummer moment, a huge spin, and this time around it ends up being Sybil, Kat's daughter, and it's incredibly sad. They actually eventually brainwash her into thinking that maybe she wasn't ready to be a mother the entire time, and maybe that it'll just be for the best, okay? She'll have a chance to restart, to build her life back up, to maybe have another chance at having a child and actually being a good mother. Eventually she does snap out of this, and she doesn't want any of this, so these people have figured out a way to gather them at this place. Sybil ends up walking into these woods. Carol runs after her, and she's running deep in the woods. until she actually finds this giant tree lady in there, which is Biddle Biddle. She actually ends up deciding, you know, she says, just take me. I know what it's like. I can imagine what it'd be like to lose a child, and just take me, and you can drop all this anger, all this hatred towards this city. You can be free for once, and I will hold the anger, hold the fear and the heinous thoughts that lie inside your head, and just let my daughter free, please. And through some conversations, Biddle Biddle actually does decide to do this. She says, nobody's actually given me this offer, but what she does first is she says, you're not ready, alright? You don't have the anger yet, and you need to leave. Leave this forest. Take your daughter. This is after a point where Kat's already told her daughter to run after talking to them. And when she leaves the woods, what she's found is that the city actually saw Sybil leave these woods, and they fucking take a pitchfork and stab her right through the chest, okay? This is a moment in this book. And Kat watches this whole thing go down, and suddenly, through a flurry of rage and hate, trees start binding around her. Veins start appearing everywhere. And she says, no more will this town do anything like this ever again. None of you sick fucks will ever be allowed to kill another child just for the sake of these trees, these goddamn trees, this profit sharing with the timber companies. Nothing like this will ever happen. And a giant like fire tornado sweeps through the town. Roots start pouring up from the ground, and everybody is just dying all around. There's just dead people everywhere. She gets her vengeance on this town, but inevitably she does become the spirit of the woods. And it never says whether she requires children to be sacrificed to her. I feel like maybe that was a part of the deal, but at the same moment, I feel like maybe if she knows that this is going on and has such a problem with it, she wouldn't allow these things to happen anymore. But through a couple more pages, the children develop a new rhyme scheme, okay? They've come up with this new song. Catherine sought her mother, came to town and found none other, raised a girl fair-haired and sweet, raked in bags, kept things neat. Into woods the good child wandered, where her life was cruelly squandered. Fire and death to those the mother hates. Catherine, she grows and she waits. And I really hate to speed through the end of this. It was really kind of knocking the wind out of my sails when half the video actually didn't get recorded. It's something that I definitely should have checked, but I hope this was at least somewhat entertaining. I hope you got a good idea of what's going on in this city. The story itself is just very good and really well done. The dialogue in this is very good. The relationship between Kat and her daughter Sybil is very interesting and sweet and emotional. The way she learns that her mother actually did love her and that she actually sent her away, because what actually happens is before the ring fire or the star ring fire happens, the leaf gets closer and closer to Catherine, and she knows what's going to happen, so she sends her away. And this actually upsets Biddle, alright? And she sets fire to this place with all these children and people. I think it's like 8 some kids die and the rest are horribly burned, such as Carol Baczynski. Her whole plot twist in this is very good as well. She actually ends up being attacked by this monster. She's walking home one day. Kat actually gets Carol to join rehab, and she's doing super good. She's returning to humanity. She's trying to become kind of a person in the city. She never wants to leave, okay? This town kind of hates her because of the way she looks and the kind of stain that she puts on the town. She's just doing really well in her life, and eventually she is swarmed by all these leaves, and she's screaming, I'm sorry, I had to tell somebody. She is inevitably taken out. And there's just so many great moments in Autumnal. Wish I could go through every single one of them, but for the sake of this video, it's just gonna get way too long, and I'm gonna have to come to a point where I decide, am I gonna do really long form content, or am I gonna try and just kind of breeze through these books, because a lot of these are like 200 if not more pages than that. It takes a long ass time to retell these stories to you guys. So if you did watch all the way through, I really thank you. I see we got some new subscribers, and I think that is just so awesome. We're up to 25 now, baby. Which is good, okay? I've got more views on this channel than I ever did on the Let's Play channel. It seems like we're starting to reach 50 views, to where a couple weeks ago we were just hitting 20, and I think that is absolutely amazing. I just gotta say, Autumnal, very good. What are we gonna give this book? Give it a nice little fucking drum roll. We're gonna give this bad boy a 9, okay? This is one of the best horror comics that I've read yet. I am reading this one called The Nameless right now that is incredibly fucked up, that it's gonna be really hard to tell on YouTube. Some of the moments in that book are just, I don't know. I recently read that in the car and fell asleep, and I had some pretty weird dreams. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Autumnal. More things that I would have to say. The artwork in this is absolutely fantastic. I hope you've seen through some of the close-ups that I've posted alongside the video. It's just very well done. The artists here are really fantastic. I really love the coloring jobs on this, on the side of the outlines. Like I said, it's almost like a watercolor mixed with a paint, mixed with like kind of this just kind of gritty filter on top of it. I wouldn't say a filter because it doesn't cover up the lines or anything. It's just very colorful and vivid. All the lines are super precise and clean, and the whole book is just really well done. And if you have the chance, I really would recommend you read this out in the woods, okay? So, everybody, Autumnal, 9 out of 10. I'm sorry that my camera decided not to record the last half. I need to get this video out, and I'm very strapped for time, so I'm just kind of doing what I can. I'm working on it, alright? I'm trying to figure out this format. I would rather these videos be more known for just a storytelling channel rather than like a comic book review channel. So let me know down in the comments what you think about that, how you perceive this channel. I would really enjoy the feedback. But everybody, have yourself a fantastic day, and thank you so very much for watching. Thank you for the shares, thank you for the likes. It's very exciting, okay? I've never been more excited about a YouTube channel in a long time. If this is the first one where I felt like I can steadily do this, it's just gonna be a matter of fact to figure out how many videos I can post a week. I've been trying to do 2 a week. We might have to do 1 because these bitches take forever to edit out. And for not much of a reason, you know, it's mostly just me sitting here, kind of changing the zoom and adding in all the context pictures and GIFs and things like that. It just ends up taking a long fucking time. But yes, everybody, once again, for the last time, alright, have yourself a fantastic day, and be sure to go check out The Autumnal, an absolutely fantastic book that I think every comic lover should definitely read, especially you horror fans. It's not over the top. You're not gonna see a bunch of shit that's gonna like make you gut wrench like I'm seeing right now in the book The Nameless, but it is very exciting. Very well done. It comes off like an actual book, and it seems like something that I would very much like to see a TV show adaptation or a movie, you know? A movie would be nice. Either way, it would be neat. See you guys later. Read this book, and go bless the trees before they get pissed at us all and fucking slaughter us in the streets. That's all I gotta say.